weekend? Did you guys do anything fun? Did you guys take time to fill out the journal pages and do the quiz? If not, that's totally okay because you get out of this course what you put in, and even just hearing about all this information will help trigger like some things in your brain which will make you more aware of it, and you'll start unconsciously doing it even if you don't try to. But I do hope though that you do put in, at least try to do all of the exercises we put out for you, because they will really help you in your life.
The other day, my parents and my boyfriend and I were going kayaking down a river, and this was kind of a little bit of a new experience, so I was like slightly nervous, but I was ready for a fun adventure. And beforehand my mom had been like, so it takes about 2 hours, so we're gonna go, and we packed food and lunch and a Coke because it was kind of cloudy, and it was good, and we were kayaking and it was great. And then we're kayaking down this river, and I did enjoy it, but I kind of like kept looking for this bridge that we were gonna get off at, just because then we started getting wet and tired, and it was fun, but like there was just a little bit where it was just like, okay, this is fun, but like I can have the bridge now. We're like half an hour in. And then we hit 2 hours and we're kayaking past bank after bank after bank, and Mom's like, oh, I just looked on my phone where we are and we still have 2 hours left. And so I'm sitting here thinking that we are going to be kayaking down this random river for 2 more hours, and then all of a sudden about like half an hour later, we're just talking and telling stories to like pass the time now because we have 2 more hours left, and around the bend there's the bridge that we're supposed to get off, and I was just so happy and so relieved, and I was like, ah, and it was just this overwhelming feeling of like gratitude and like endorphins and dopamine were like all over my brain, and it was the best feeling ever.
Most of us know what it looks like to be grateful for something. As a child, we are told that we need to have the attitude of gratitude. Over the last few years, our parents have changed that phrase to practicing gratitude, because it's not something you can just have all the time. It's something that we have to practice over and over each day, many times during the day. Just like anything you practice, the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Practicing gratitude is one of the key ingredients to loving yourself. The more grateful you are to others, what you have, and the positive things in your life, the more you will start to see everything in a better light, including yourself. As you start to actively look for positive things in your life, you will start to notice more things you love about yourself. This takes time and effort and usually does not come naturally to people. Many of us are more primed to notice the negative than the positive.
Another beautiful outcome of gratitude is that the more you practice gratitude, the more you will find and experience joy in your life, because gratitude is the key to joy. Joy is the feeling you get when you take intense pleasure in something or experience a deep feeling of satisfaction. Joy is different than just happiness. You can feel joy and not be happy. Oftentimes, happiness is part of the joyful experience. Because they are often confused, even by researchers, we are going to share some of the differences between joy and happiness.
Happiness depends on outside factors to be created. It is something that happens to us. It is not a choice that we make. It is a broader feeling we have about our overall life, work, hometowns, etc., and changes as circumstances change. Joy, on the other hand, is a choice. It is inside us. You can feel joy even when we are dealing with difficult situations. It brings peace and contentment to our lives. Joy needs connection. You can feel it when you are alone, but it is connected to people, nature, pets, creation, and creativity. It is something we feel in the moment and yet carry within us regardless of our circumstances.
Joy needs gratitude to exist, which is why practicing gratitude is so important.
I remember one specific time, it was like a month or so into my school semester, and I was driving to take a test in Lethbridge, which is a city which is an hour away from where I live, and I was so stressed. There was a couple different things in my life where I was at some transitioning points. I was figuring some things about some of my relationships. I had a whole bunch of school. I had like a paper and a presentation and 3 tests to take in like 1 week, and I was super overwhelmed and super stressed. And I remember feeling the week leading up to that time, it was like a Tuesday, I think I was driving to Lethbridge, and I was just kind of lost. I was driving and it was in the winter time, so as I was driving the sun started coming up, and I got to see the sunrise, and I remember this feeling of just so much peace and joy as I watched the sunrise, and almost like it puts your problems and your experiences into perspective, where you can see that really you're part of something so much bigger than yourself, and that this moment will pass. And I remember watching the sunrise and just have so much peace and joy in my heart as I drove to Lethbridge and took this scary test that worked out fine, and everything worked out fine, and it was all good in the end. And that was just a very big blessing that I appreciate a lot when I was struggling. The neat thing about this experience and about joy is that my circumstances didn't change. I was still had to take this test. I hadn't even taken the test. It wasn't like the relief after the test. It was right before this test that I just had no idea how it was going to go. And my relationships didn't change, and it was just my perspective and my feelings and my heart that changed. It had nothing to do with the circumstances and everything to do with my focus and my heart and inside.
Unfortunately, many of us live with the idea that there isn't enough in life. This is called a scarcity mindset. They are constantly worried that there isn't enough friends, food, safety, money, sleep, time in our lives. This is the opposite of being grateful for what we have and realizing we live in a world of abundant resources. This focus on the lack of our lives stops us from being able to experience this joy. So when I was little, I have some friends who are like really well off, and so like they were always traveling and like they would move a lot and like buying nice big houses and like getting new clothes and just getting like all this new stuff. And then I was like looking at me like, well, I haven't traveled anywhere except like BC, and I don't get new clothes every week, and I don't do all this stuff. And so I was just sitting there like just always like, oh well, why can't my life be like that? Like why did they get it? And I was just always jealous and always comparing. And while I was doing that, like I stopped looking at how amazing my life was, like how the fact that I had so many siblings to keep me company. We lived in the most beautiful place. I had like so many opportunities for adventure that like my life was amazing, but since I was just so focused on what they had that I didn't, my life just, I didn't have much joy in it. Since I stopped doing that, like as I grew older and I realized how much I actually had in my life, and just because they had something doesn't mean that there wasn't enough for me, my life has just been so much more filled with joy.
Another thing that we often do when we have this scarcity mindset is that when we do feel joy and happiness in our lives, mostly joy, we then have this thought that we're going to lose it all. It's suddenly all going to go away, that this is like, the too good to be true saying. Brene Brown calls this foreboding joy. We feel this way because of all the years that we have primed ourselves to expect the worst, that when something wonderful actually happens, we assume that the bad thing is just around the corner. Practicing gratitude helps us see that life is constantly full of wonderful, joyful, beautiful moments that keep coming and never stop. It helps us realize all we have in life, all the wonderful people who love us, and the opportunities, no matter how small, that always come. This helps us to really enjoy life.
Research has shown that just taking time to write down 3 things each day that you're grateful for will distinctly change your life and perspective.
Okay, so our assignment is for the next 21 days, actually 21 days, let's do it. Print out these journal pages that we have attached and write down 3 things you are grateful for every day. Remember to do one thing that God/life, your circumstance or whatever gave you, and then one thing that you yourself have and one thing from others.
It doesn't have to be big. In fact, when we pay attention to the small and simple things, you'll find that they tend to have the greatest impact on life. See you guys, thank you so much for watching, and we hope that you learned something from this video and you will apply it in your life, and see you tomorrow.